Jawaballs!
All right, let's talk red for a second while my boy is drying here. Mephiston Red. This is the new replacement for Mechrite Red, which was universally considered one of like the best blessings for red painters. This Mechrite Red, because this allowed us to quickly and easily lay down some red upon which we could then layer. Between Army Painter Dragon Red and Mechrite Red foundation paint, my painting leapt, leaps and bounds. So Mechrite Red, which is supposedly the replacement for Mechrite Red, is Mephiston Red. Mephiston Red, however, is not as heavy or as opaque as Mechrite Red. It requires more more layers to cover a surface. And also, in my opinion, the Mechrite or Mephiston Red is much more red. Mechrite Red was kind of magenta, and Mephiston Red is definitely red. So anyway, there's those guys. Then we've got Corn Red, which is it's another base coat red, and this is the replacement for Scab Red, or was it Red Gore? Corn Red. Yeah, Corn Red is Scab Red, which I never really used, and Wazdaka Red is the replacement for Red Gore, which I did use a lot for shading. I liked Red Gore. So Wazdaka Red is another dark red for a replacement for Red Gore. Then we've got Corn Red. Where's my Corn Red? Where's my corns? Oh, it's right here. Yeah, Corn Red is Scab Red. And Wazdaka Red is Red Gore. And then we get to my beloved Blood Red. Again, my last pot of Blood Red. Evil Sun Scarlet is the replacement for Blood Red. And as you can see, Evil Sun Scarlet, just looking at the two little pots here, is much more scarlet, much more orange looking than my Blood Red. So it makes me sad. And actually, when you look at the two, here's a transition from Mephiston Red to Blood Red to Evil Sun Scarlet. You can see the shades here. My old Blood Red is somewhere in between Mephiston and Evil Sun Scarlet. We got a couple other reds. We have Wild Rider Red, which is I have not used yet. It's a red orange, and we've got Squig Orange, which is actually a little bit more reddish than Wild Rider. So Squig Orange is actually a little bit more in the field of red. So these are what we have available for us to use. You can find a color translator if you have a lot of old GW colors right on the GW website. Click under, go to painting, and they have a link down there which has a nice little translator for the colors. By all means, as I work on this, I'm going to try and remember to always tell you the translation, because you probably have a whole bunch of Scab Red left over. So I want you guys to not have to buy the new stuff. If you are pocket minded, if you don't have the money in your pocket to keep throwing that stuff. So anyway, this guy's almost done. As you can see, he's about 3/4 of the way dry. You can see how the wash works. There we go. It's definitely leaving him very matte, very dry looking. And what it does is it kind of just fills in some of the areas, showing me the areas that I'm going to focus on. Because where I'm going to do my highlighting, it's going to be on the edges of his of the armor, where the wash is not built up. So, all right, let me come back once he's dry and finish the job. Here we go. All right, here we go. So, I'm going to start with Mephiston Red. And I'm not going to start glazing just yet. I'm going to take some of the Mephiston red and use my little dropper bottle here and squish a bit out. I have to get some more. I'm running out. Ooh. Out of all the new reds, Mephiston red is my favorite. And I'm just gonna use it straight from the pot here. And I'm not yet really gonna worry about glazing and mixing yet. All I'm gonna do is just do some preliminary kind of highlighting. So here's how I do it. I dip just the tip of my brush into the paint. Almost no paint at all on the brush. And find the edges. And with the point of the brush pointing towards the edge, I'm going to let the edge kind of grab the paint off my brush. And then push down on the model. And this is called feathering. So letting the front of the head crown grab the paint. Then I'm going to just kind of drag it down. So what this does is you can see where the paint is on the tip of the brush. That's where the paint's heaviest on the model. And then it kind of fades as I lay the bristles of the brush down like this on the model. There's less paint higher up the bristles. So where that part of the bristles are touching the model, you see it kind of fade there. Do that again for you. So I have a little tiny dab of paint on my brush. Drag it across. Then what I kind of do is just wiggle the brush back and forth, dragging it down. So hopefully what you can see back here is it's darker and then it kind of fades up. And now I'm going to work the whole model over doing this. Dragging the tip of the brush with a little tiny bit of paint across the edges and then pulling it up into the armor plates. You always want the point of the brush to be pointing at the edge. And this allows you to let the model paint for you. It just kind of grabs the paint off your brush. It takes as much paint as it wants, but never too much. Well, I will say never. That's the idea anyway. If you get too much paint on your brush, use your thumbnail just to dab it off. And what you're going to do is multiple layers of this. Way too much paint. I wasn't really paying attention. So I'm going to dip it on my thumbnail and kind of twist it. Pull some of that paint off. Back to the crest. See that contrast concept? Dark, light on the edge, pushes it forward in space. Backpack. Same thing, make sure that the point of the brush is pointed towards the edge of the armor. Then just drag it. Letting it rest on the armor and feather out. That looks fairly good in the viewfinder. You can see the shading already happening. You can see it. The 3D, the illusion of depth. Oops. When you got a big round surface like this, it's a little bit different. We have a flat edge, so here we can drag across the edge, and then you feather into the ball of the peck, but don't go all the way down. Allow the paint to kind of accumulate on the rounded part, but remain dark down there. Drag the edge, then just dab it. Remember, you're not trying to do all of it at once. You're doing your base coating right now. You're going to come back with glazing, and we're going to do more with a lighter color. The Mephiston red will change color. It goes on with a very almost blood red look to it, and then when it dries, it's a heavier, darker red. Elbow pad. I'm just grabbing the edge, then feathering it up. Shoulder pad. Can you see that? How's that look? Once you've got the technique down, it goes pretty fast. I have to force myself to do it slowly so that you guys can see what I got going on here. Now, if you're just looking for a fast paint job, this is all you really need. A shade and then this Mephiston red. That will make your Blood Angels, for your red, good enough to play. Then you could do a highlight if you wish. Again, I'm letting the armor itself, the edge of the armor, just grab the paint off my brush. Kind of dragging the tip across the edge. It's difficult to work here with the focus and the lighting. The biggest key here is using the least amount of paint on your brush as possible. That's probably the biggest tip I've ever given anybody in all of the years I've been doing these videos. You have to master the art of how much of control over your paint. You can't paint fine detail if you've got globs of paint on your brush. All right, the leg. Now, we know that the sun, the light, will shine down upon this leg, and that means that this part of the leg here will be lighter. The light will be more direct because you can see that's almost directly facing the light. So this part right here we have to focus on, while underneath here is going to be in shadow. So that's going to be darker. This part's going to be lighter from the light hitting it. So here we go. There's an edge here. See the armor seam? So I'm going to drag it across here, go down that edge, and then kind of just feather it down. Back and forth, feathering. Flip them around this way. Go with that seam, drag it down. Feathering it in. Find your seam. Too much paint. Don't worry about how messy it is. We're going to fix that. Now, it's not always possible to get the right orientation with your brush. Sometimes you have to just kind of fudge it. Like here on this butt plate thing. I recommend you always have the point going with the edge of the plate, but sometimes you just can't. Now, on the front side, we know the shadow's there, so I'm not going to be too worried about that part. I'm just going to put some here on the end, and then kind of just scumble it into the bottom there. Here's where the translucent quality of red works for me. This is how I've managed to do all of my armies. I've already got, through my spraying, a nice dark area down here. Now that translucent red will allow it to show through. Mind you, we're just doing base coating still. We're not even at the highlighting part yet, so don't worry too much about how it looks just yet. You'll get back to it as far as highlights. Most importantly, you want kind of a transition here. Brighter to darker. All right, well, I'm going to finish up with this, and I'll come back in a few. I got to keep these segments short. More to come.